This video is going to discuss the citations in APA formatting. So a citation is going to identify the author and the year of publication. Now in APA formatting, that's the most important thing. Again, very different than MLA. So when we talk about authors, it's the last name that is critical. The last name is the most important thing in identifying it. And the first author of that paper is important as well. So we want to keep those authors' names in the correct order. So the author and the year of publication for the source of a specified fact or idea that's mentioned in a research report. So everything that you paraphrase, you're going to cite. And it provides enough information to locate the full reference. So a lot of times students say, oh, do I need to give you my PDFs of my primary research articles? No, because you should be citing them in your paper and then having them in your reference section so that I can go and find those full articles. If you were able to find the full text, I should be able to find the full text. So there's different formats for citations. So the first one states a fact or makes a claim in the text. And then it cites the source in the parentheses within the same sentence. And again, APA is very different than MLA. So in APA, the first time you talk about that reference, you cite it. You don't wait till the bottom of the paragraph. So for example, this sentence says, group psychotherapy effectively promotes positive treatment outcomes in patients in a cost-effective way. Its efficacy is in part attributable to variables unique to the group experience of therapy as compared with individual psychotherapy. And here I've cited in parentheses those sources. This is the author's last name, the year of publication. This is two authors, their last name, and the year of publication. Now notice it's not in alphabetical order here. This is the order of the authors. This is the first author, and this is the second author. Within the parentheses, notice that the two citations are listed in alphabetical order. Now you may only have one citation. This is called a parenthetical citation because it's in parentheses. Now sometimes you use the source as a subject of a sentence. So how you would do this, the author's names appear in the body of the sentence and only the year is in parentheses. So for example, Holden Lund, and then you see the year in parentheses, examine the effects of guided imagery intervention on surgical stress and wound healing in a group of 24 patients. This is called a narrative citation. And the difference between the two, yes, important to remember, maybe it'd be something that could potentially come up on a test, but really I just want you to see that there are different ways to reference your researchers, and you should probably use a mix of the two within the text. So rules for references, be conservative, select those that are useful and contribute to your arguments. You at the very least are going to have 6 primary research articles. You may have more, as I've said before. You may go on and include some of those review articles that you've read or textbooks that you've read, places where maybe you found some information that isn't quite general knowledge that you need to include that isn't in those primary research articles. You are going to paraphrase a point using your own words rather than a direct quote. So again, those article deconstructions is really trying to get you to do that, and hopefully I can help with you putting some of that information in direct quotes and then paraphrasing below. I can actually give you some feedback on that paraphrasing. For APA, it says use direct quotations only when it's necessary to preserve the essence of the whole original statement. So you really want to use quotations sparingly. Something like if you were to report what a certain question was on a Likert scale or a survey, I thought that was important enough to put it into your, maybe not your literature, probably your literature review. Maybe that would be a quotation. But we're not going to quote bulk parts of, say, the methods or the results just because you don't understand them and you don't want to paraphrase it. You need to understand what you're writing about, so you need to paraphrase it. So your paper should have basically no quotes is the way to think about it. I'm not even going to teach you how to cite quotations. If you end up using a quote, you're going to have to search that out yourself. So within the text, and this is different in the 7th edition than it was in the 6th. So here, the number of authors. So if you just have one author, you put their last name and the year of publication. This would be parenthetical. This would be narrative. You're using the author as the subject of your sentence. If you have two authors, this is how you would do it. And notice here we have what's called the ampersand sign that's in between them. So two authors. This is author number 1, and this is author number 2. Note there's no initials in the in-text citation style, and this is the year of publication. If you use narrative, you're going to write out the word and the years in parentheses. If you have 3 or more, the 7th edition now says even your first citation, you're going to use that et al. Okay, you're not going to write out more than 2 authors. So this et al, a lot of times students get it wrong. It's et space al period. Points will get deducted if you don't get this correct. So that's important to know how this et al is. And then this is the year of publication. Even in a narrative citation now, you don't have to list out more than 2 authors. So again, it's the et space al period, comma, and then you have your year of publication. So here's just an example. So when it says author, it means last name. AA means that author's initials. Maybe they only have one initial. Here again is the ampersand sign, and then another author, if you had 2 authors, and then the initials. This is the year of publication, the title of the article with only the first word capitalized, the title of the journal in italics, your volume, your issue number, your page number, and then your DOI. And so here I've given you an example below. So note here again, this is the last name. These are their initials. You may only have 1 initials. We're not looking for things like doctor and masters and things like that. This is their actual, like this is the person's first name starts with an S, their middle name starts with an M. They may only have their first name. Note that the title of the journal and the volume number is in italics. The issue number is not. And notice also how I don't have VOL before the volume or issue number. I don't have PP before the page numbers. It is important now as we move forward in terms of the electronic age that the APA manual really wants you to have a DOI, and most recent articles have that. You may have to search a little bit. It might only be in the reference. It might not be in the actual PDF article. Most of the time it is, but not always. If it's an older article and it really doesn't have a DOI, then you put a permalink, and the library went over what permalinks were in the library session. It's important to make sure it's a permalink and not just link. I need to be able to go to that source. I need to be able to either copy and paste this DOI into my browser and that'll pull the article up, or click that permalink and it will take me, so that I don't have to necessarily sign into Orange Coast College. Here again is the year that the article was published. This is the title of the journal. Notice that only the first letter is capitalized unless I have a colon. If I have a colon, then the first word is capitalized if it's a complete sentence. Notice that the whole journal title's written out. It's not an abbreviation. Notice there's no space between the volume and the issue number, and that everything else is ended with a period, except for when we get to the journal. So journal, comma, issue, or volume and issue, comma, and then we end with a period in both places here. And so these would be how you would format your references in that reference section. Now, of course, if you only had 1 author, you would only have 1 author's name. And you put in all those authors up until 21 or more. So here's just an example. Here's your running head. Here's your page number, and your reference. It's a first level heading, so it's bolded and centered. And then here are my different articles. So the reference section is going to start on a new page. Again, it's bold and centered. This is different, I believe, from the 6th edition. It's all double spaced. Also, something I didn't put on here, note that it's alphabetical. And the hanging indent. So I will show you in another video how to do this hanging indent.